Dun, 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 dun. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Bum, 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 bum. What's up, party people in the house?
What up, though?
Welcome to This is Live, one of the sexiest voices in the SFL,
Mr. Master.
Dave Axis. What's up, party people of the SFL? What's going on? What's cracking this Tuesday night? Welcome to Season 16, Episode 23 of Axis Live. I'm your host, Dave Axis. Shocker, right? We've got a phenomenal panel tonight. We have something we've never done on the show before. We have our very first ever mystery panelist, and we even did more than that, which you will see momentarily. What does more than that mean? You'll find out in a minute. So when we meet our panel, we've also got Gunny and his Pearls of Wisdom. We've got the Diva of the Week nominees for Week 12. We're going to talk about playoffs. Playoffs? We talking about playoffs? Yeah, we're talking about playoffs, and we're going to talk about tomorrow night's game, Wednesday night's game between Houston and London. We're going to preview it, and we're going to talk pick'em. And guess what? That game probably going to affect the playoffs. We're going to have the Survivor final update next on Netma, and then on Axis After Dark, we will have a playoff fantasy football. I don't know. What do you say? Game? Contest? Whatever you want to call it. That someone's going to come on to talk about in Axis After Dark. So that being said, let's get to my party people. All right, party people, let's see who's here. Look at Will Todd subscribing to Tier 1. Attaboy, Will Todd. Let's see. Corey Mizzou is back. The long arm of the law. Jacob, owner of Portland, is here. Good to see you, bro. Fox Highwind is in the house. Uh-oh. Hype train is close. So just a little warning, a hype train might be coming on tonight, which will be perfect on the night that we do our first mystery panelist. That would work perfect. Fox Highwind's here. BJ Loveless is in the house. Bob Funk, of course, as always. Freddie is here. Nate Hall. Gunny. The one, the only, the wonderful and perfect Pink Lisa is in the house. Wink is here. Oh my gosh, it's a Wild Axis Live. Yes, it is, Wink. What's up, bro? Good to see you in the house. David Leathers, the man with the best first name in the SFL, is back as always. I see Charles in here. I see Boomberry. Who else we got here? Bullet Boletsky's in the house. Doug Britton, good to see you, bro. Albert Begin, what's up? Cam is here. It says, spin that record, DJ. I might have to get my own DJ. How cool would it be to have a DJ actually cutting it up live for you guys to see while while the music's going before I come on? That would be actually really cool. Ray's in the house. Ray, glad you're back. Glad you're feeling better. Glad you're here to post the lyrics for the Marines hymn for Gunny. I think Gunny missed you more than anyone the other day. M. Davis Fleet. Oh yeah, yeah. What's up, bro? How you doing? I don't know what D Fleet H. Oh, head coach. My bad. Let me see. Will Todd already said is here. Kendra Hall, what's up, sweetie? How you doing? Good to see you as well. Twin Screw's back. Twin Screw, that's like back-to-back shows, bro. I don't know what's up with that all of a sudden, but welcome back. I'm always glad to see you in the crowd. That's What She Said is back as well. Gunny subscribed at Tier 2 for 3 months. Attaboy, Gunny getting that hype train going. We're at level 2 on the hype train already. Let me see who else. Will Todd gifting. Who did he gift? He gifted a Tier 1 sub to David Leathers. Eddie Gage, what up, Doe? Glad to see you in there as well. Looks like Harish is here. Man, we got a jam-packed crowd tonight. EJ Minson's in the house. Bo Martin Jr. X-Max Jet Plane. Who is that? I feel like I should know who that is. X-Max Jet Plane, let me know who you are. Let me see who else. And my favorite quarterback in the whole wide world, Ace Fennick, jumps in at the very last second. Oh, Jeff Banfield. There you go. I knew it was somebody I knew. I knew it was up. All right. So there's a party people in the house so far tonight with more coming in. A hype train going on. Like we didn't have a big enough show already. We got a hype train on top of everything. Just as Too Cold 49 jumps in as well. Good to see you, bro. Glad to see you here. All right. Let's get to this esteemed panel that I mentioned in the announcement earlier today, as well as meeting our unforgettable, and I mean unforgettable, mystery panelist. So let's start first in the unscripted circle tonight. Who's in the unscripted circle? It is the one, is the only amazing offensive coordinator of the glorious Lone Star Glory, who has had 2 out of the last 3 games, last minute comebacks over Queen City, and then this week over our rival, Fort Worth, to keep the I-35 shootout trophy in Denton, Texas, where it belongs. It is the one and only Cuban Missile. Greg Soto's in the house. Greg, what's up? Welcome back. Great job. What's up?
You there, Dave? Dave, you there?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Dave, I can't see you, man. I gotta look at the TV.
You
Yeah,
gotta
man.
look at the
My
monitor,
bad.
bro. That's
My
what
bad. My bad.
It's probably better that you're better at coordinating offenses than you are
Yeah,
looking at
I'm
cameras.
I'm just used to Cuban technology. I thought I was gonna be able to see
Well,
the
I can
right there.
completely understand that based on our previous conversation. All right, moving on. Oh my gosh, the hype train. What do we got? 6% left to get to level 2. So we'll see how that goes. Looks like Randy Ferguson. So RS Ferguson in the chat. That's my boy from the Marine Corps that's visiting. He's downstairs with his wife and Pink Lisa listening to the show on my big ass TV while I'm up here in the office. Randy, I'm so glad that you are listening to the show, and it looks like we just completed level 2 of our hype train, and we're 30% into level 3 already. As we move on to the unfiltered circle, and all you need to know about the unfiltered circle is that it is my main man, the GM of Jacksonville, Mike All. Mike All, what's up, bro?
Wait, we're doing a show tonight? I thought this was a intervention for Soto.
It is an intervention for Soto, but he's thinking it's a show. You gotta, you're letting the cat out of the bag, bro. What's up?
Oh, sorry. I didn't want to let the cat out of the bag about Greg's issue.
Oh, this is going to be, I can already see how this is. I'm going to skip the unedited circle because I know everybody's chomping at the bit. Anybody got any guesses in the show chat on who our unforgettable mystery panelist is tonight? I'm skipping the unedited person to go straight to him. Let's see here. Harish thinks it's Eddie. Kendra thinks it's Cam. David Leathers thinks it's Lol. Hello, LOL. Let me see. Oh, Leon Thunderman, good to see you, bro. You just got here. Johnny thinks it's Andy. Let me see. Somebody thinks it's Pickler. Hacker, you think it's Pickler. Hacker, welcome to the show. Another one for Eddie. Jack Brown. Nate Hall says he already knows, so he won't say anything. The long arm of the law. Is it me? Yes, it is the long arm of the law. Why aren't you in here yet, bro? Oh, Fox thinks it's my lovely wife, Lisa. That's pretty good. And Bo's praying that it's Andy. Well, here we go. I should probably delay this no further and let you know that the very first ever in the history of this show and the history of the entire world, the very first mystery panelist of Access Live is the one, the only Commissioner Cameron Irvine. Cam, what's up? Welcome back to the show. How you doing, bro?
Unforgettable.
That's what Cam is.
Unforgettable. Watch the Ovan.
Oh, here we go. Cam, thank you for coming on the show, and thank you for being the very first mystery panelist in the history of the show.
You're welcome, Dave.
You can put that on your mantle next to all your other awards.
It'll go at the top of my resume.
I appreciate that. And yes, Kendra, you were right. I think Kendra might have been the only one to guess it, Cam. So there you go. Kendra was on the ball. Although Nate,
I don't know how Nate knew.
I was gonna say,
how did Nate know?
Oh, because I don't know. How did Nate know? Because we kept it a secret. Like not even the regular panelists knew. So I think Nate is just talking trash. Well, that's what the Halls do, right? The Halls, they talk trash. That's what
they really do.
They do. All right. So for all of those waiting now for the unedited, why did I skip the unedited? You're probably asking yourself. Well, I'll tell you why. The unedited circle was supposed to be Robert Garrett Jr., but about a half an hour before the show, he DM'd me that he had an emergency and could not make it on the show. So I was racking my brain. I'm like, who could we bring in at the very last minute that might know everything about all the games that were played this week? And who do you ask to be on the show to do that? And I'm going to introduce him right now. It is the one, the only, the commissioner, Cam Irvine. Cam, welcome back to the show once again.
I'm here to do my best Robert Garrett Jr. impression. I have an expo marker here. That's my cigar right there.
There you go. That's perfect.
And then I went to Lowe's and I said, hey, where can I get that yellow that's in this photo? And they said, dude, we don't sell that.
We
color
don't
anymore.
sell that. Hey, you got to have a backwards Carolina hat, too. Where's that at?
Oh, well, I think we've had enough backwards Carolina for one week, haven't we, Dave?
Whoa, hey-yo, hey, Cam will be here all night, folks. All right, now that we got all that out of the way, before we actually get into this, 2 announcements I want to make real quick. Number 1, if you have not gone into the Access Live server, into the T-shirt survey, please go in there. I'm going to wrap it up this week. A small announcement. I had one person ask me if the shirts were only going to be black because they were like, the Axis blue, like the royal blue color, would be really cool. And I was like, you know what? I think if we get enough ordered, I could probably do blue or black. So if you have done the survey, because we didn't ask about colors in that, don't fret. When we do the final survey to order the shirts, I will give you a choice of black or blue. So if you haven't done that, do it this week because on Friday or Saturday, I'm going to wrap it up and that shindig will be all done and we'll be ready to rock and roll and order the shirts. We received a level 2 hype train emoji I am now sharing with the rest of you. Thank you for the hype train. You know how much we love hype trains in this bad boy. All right. The twins on the end are hot. Attaboy, Soto. Attaboy. The other announcement real quick is I need to thank. So I put out a DM to all of my panelists this week and asked if anybody could help me with graphics this week because I have my friend Randy and his wife Rosemary visiting for a whole week, trying to get them out of California to move out here to Knoxville next to us. And they did. They're here, and we're going to be house shopping for them. And so I asked if anybody could help out with graphics because I wasn't going to have the time to do it. So it's like a show with no graphics or a show with graphics and somebody helping us out. So I just want to let you know, Frank the Franchise Wade did tonight's graphics for me, and Axel Raven will be doing the graphics for Thursday night's show. So I want to give them both a special shout out and a thank you for stepping up and doing graphics so we have graphics for the show. All right, now that being said, we can get into talking about some football, people. Let's talk about some football. Football? We talking about football? All right. Let's get the panel off of there. Just a real quick recap. We had 7 games on Saturday, 5 games on Sunday. We kicked things off with Queen City at London on Saturday, wrapped things up with Arizona Sioux Falls, Florida Jacksonville, along with that Fort Worth Lone Star game, which was just off the chain. And we wrapped things off with another game that was off the chain, Baltimore at DC. And if you didn't see that one, at least go back and watch the last 5 minutes of that game because that was ridiculous. That being said, we're going to talk about some playoffs later. I'm going to throw this graphic up just for a minute so you guys can kind of see where we're at now. My understanding, and it's a good thing I have Cam here with me. I believe Carolina, Cam, if I'm not mistaken, has now been eliminated after last night.
Yes, correct.
Okay, so basically, based on tomorrow night's game, Houston and London, if Houston wins, they're in. If Houston loses, LA is in. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so there you go. So there's the graphic. All the other seeding, are the seedings the same, or will the seedings change depending on who gets in, Cam?
If Houston wins, they're the 11, and they'll play Mexico City in a rematch. Arizona would be 12 and play Fort Worth. If Houston loses, then LA is 12.
Okay.
They will play Fort Worth, and Arizona will play Mexico City.
Okay, perfect. There you go. All right. Now, all of that being said, let's get into the recaps of the games this week. Soto, kicking things off with you. Game 1, Queen City at London. London having to play a must-win game to stay in the playoff hunt. They fell short. Tell me why they fell short and what happened in this game.
Well, yeah, I was doing stats for this game. It was just Queen City just took care of what they had to in Queensway over in London. They ended up winning 27-13, but already in the half, going into the half, they were already up 17-7. And it just looked like they couldn't really, Angus McLean had a bad game. I mean, He did throw for 312 yards, but he threw 4 interceptions and only 1 touchdown. And really, that was it. And then unfortunately, Robert Merrill, I think in his third carry, I believe, either second or third carry, he got injured. So then you had to have the backup in there, and they just started throwing the ball a lot. And we all know Queen City has a really good defense. With that defense, London just could not do much of anything. After Merrill, I think, went down, they only scored again 2 field goals, I believe, in the third quarter, and that was it. They had a touchdown in the first quarter, and that was it, really. I mean, their defense, Queen City, too, Albert Begin was all over the place. He had 12 tackles, 1 assist. And then you had the interceptions. You had 2 interceptions by King Jamal, 1 by Pharaoh Rains, and 1 by Jared Crow. And it was just too much. It was too much for the Knights to overcome. It just looked like it's weird because I remember doing some of these games with London before, or hearing on the show, where you'll have Robert Merrill like barely get any rushing touchdowns or rushing yards, and then one game he does really good, and then this game he gets hurt, and it was just too much. Queen City was just we're just dominating both sides of the field, and London just couldn't get out of their own way, and unfortunately they just had to start throwing the ball after Merrill went down. Their defense did okay. Marcus Reed had 6 tackles, and so did Barry Barkley. But other than that, they only had 2 interceptions, by Tanner Hendricks and Emmanuel Blackman, but they really couldn't capitalize on those at all. Angus, again, he threw 46 times, 4 interceptions. AJ Caswell did pretty good. He had an 81% completion percentage for 283. He also had 2 interceptions, but again, they were able to, use Jet Zero a little bit. Jet Zero didn't crack 100, but he had 78. So that was pretty much it. I mean, the story was literally, Robert Merrill getting hurt and Angus McLean then having to throw a lot and throwing 4 interceptions.
Yeah, we talked about on Thursday 2 things. We said that whatever quarterback plays better will probably have the edge in this game. And the other thing we talked about was the running back situation. We thought it was vital that Robert Merrill would have to outplay Jet Zero, which obviously he couldn't. But it's almost like neither quarterback really wanted to win this game the way they were playing. But Greg, before I move on to Mike for Game 2, Queen City, the last few weeks of the season, starting to look like the Queen City of old. They almost beat us a couple weeks ago. They come in, they beat London. But now they're going to have all these changes. It's going to be a lot different for them moving into Season 17.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, whatever has been advertised, or posted on our Gen Chat, and I mean, it looks like they're going in the right direction, but who knows what's going to be happening there going in the offseason.
Yep. Well, Jack's Data had this over/under at 44.5, so with 40 points scored in the game, that was really close. London was favored by 3.5. They could not cover. And SFL Nation and the Who You Got, we took London 122 to only 34. So I guess Queen City showed us coming out the gate, starting 0-1, moving into Game 2, Michael. San Diego at Portland. This was a game that a lot of people thought could have been San Diego's first victory of the season and the first victory of their franchise history, but they fell well short. Break this game down for us.
Well, so the last several weeks we've talked about Portland and how great their defense has been playing. And this was just another example. Their defense dominated this game. They didn't let up on San Diego at all until basically close to the end of the game, where San Diego got a garbage time touchdown. I mean, they forced Javier Vasquez to throw 5 interceptions. He got sacked 6 times. I mean, he didn't get let up on all day long. It was a rough game for San Diego's offense, and their defense didn't fare much better. Ezekiel Love had 33 carries for 147 yards. Matt South didn't have the biggest day, but Matt South is a game manager. He's not a pass thrower per se. But when you run up against a Titan like Ezekiel Love, it's hard to stop that. And it was all, like I said, it was all about Portland's defense for the most part. Their defense scored us as many times as their offense did. It was just dominating. Guys like Bob Funk Railroad, he had 2 picks, 3 pass defenses. Shawn Allen had himself a pick. Derek Majors had himself a pick, and Leo Morris had a nice long pick 6. It was just a dominating day for that defense.
You know, a couple things we talked about on Thursday, Mike. We said that Jalen Wells would have to step up his game to be able to compete with Ezekiel Love, because Ezekiel Love, one of the best running backs in the league, especially the second half of the season. And then the quarterback play. And again, this is 2 games in a row we're talking about. Neither quarterback really seemed like they wanted to step up and win this game. And the third thing that we talked about was Optimus Klein. Now, we know that there were some roster issues or whatever where he wasn't getting in the game properly or whatever happened with that. Since that got corrected, he's been playing really well. But this game, absolutely terrible. What happened to Optimus Klein in this game, Mike? Only 2 catches for 17 yards.
Yeah, I mean he's one of the best out there, but Portland's defense knew that he was the main guy to have to shut down. Now they've got guys like Connor Weston and Shea Carroll out there that can get it done, but Optimus Klein is the key. You take him away, you don't have to worry about as much. And they did take him away. He only caught the ball 2 times. He did score the 1 touchdown for him, which was nice, but 2 receptions isn't going to get it done for anybody unless those 2 interceptions are both 99 yards long.
Right, and touchdowns or something. I mean, to that point, Connor Weston, 3 catches for 90 yards, averaging 30 yards a reception. That's great, but nothing in the end zone and nothing worthwhile. Lastly, before I move on to cam number 1 for Portland, Truzman, I have this feeling, and I might be wrong, and I know Jacob's in the chat, so maybe Jacob can correct me on this. Florida's doing the 2-back thing. Lone Star's been doing the 2-back thing. Portland moving Truzman back to fullback and bringing in Ezekiel Love. Looks like they could have done the 2-back thing as well, but really it's been all Ezekiel Love, and where's Truzman been?
He's been throwing those blocks to get Truzman a lot of those yards. I mean, he's been productive as a blocker, but he's not the guy that you want running the ball. He's the guy you want throwing those big, heavy blocks against those linebackers.
He's definitely doing something right then, because Ezekiel Love has been just crushing it lately. Jack's Data had this over-under at 38.5 with 36 points scored in this game. Another close one for Jack's Data. Portland favored by 10.5. They did cover. And SFL Nation, we get a W to go 1-1. We took Portland 120-41 going into Game 3. Cam. Atlanta at Louisiana. I believe Atlanta still had a playoff chance for this game, if I'm not mistaken. Mathematically, they were not eliminated, but they had to win this to stay in contention. And it's almost like they didn't even show up. What happened?
Well, Dave, all season long, people were saying, get BDG the ball.
Yep.
Get him the ball. Get him the ball. Get him the ball. Well, they did. 38 times he carried in that game for 95 yards. And that's just amazing. I'm not even – I mean, you don't often see a stat line like that, but I just have to give it to Louisiana's defense for that one, because if you're holding BDG to 95 yards on 38 carries, you've done your job. It was just interesting. You don't often see a box score of a 3-score game where the quarterback throws 17 times. Dynasty was 15 of 17, had no picks. They only had 1 turnover in this game. They came into the game trying to get BDG going, and they couldn't get him going. And Louisiana was good enough, was strong enough. Whiska Lafouche had a nice day to keep it clean. No turnovers for Louisiana. That was big. And Atlanta's defense couldn't get off the field. And eventually time just ran out on Atlanta. It really was kind of a bizarre game, right, Dave? Just like you said, they needed that win for a chance to make the playoffs. And you could tell, right? Feed BDG. Let's get him going. We got this. And Louisiana wasn't buying it. Dynasty had a nice day, but too little too late. Atlanta not aggressive enough in the second half. And Louisiana bottled them up, and that was the end of that. They play spoiler and guarantee that Louisiana and Atlanta will play twice again next season. So
It's interesting because we've talked about it a lot on this show. The games where Atlanta's lost, BDG has not been involved. Where they've won, he's been involved. So if you use that blueprint going into this game, you think that's going to work. Louisiana, though, knowing that Dynasty is kind of having a sophomore slump, was that the key for Louisiana? I think you key on BDG because that's probably what they're going to do. Let Dynasty hurt you a little bit, but because of the season he's having, he's probably not going to destroy you.
Yeah, I mean, I think they obviously thought coming in, we need to slow down BDG. I don't think Louisiana would have predicted that Atlanta only threw 17 times. And if you ask Atlanta, they probably wouldn't have predicted it either. They probably wanted a little bit more balance there, but it just wasn't in the cards. Louisiana showed up to play. They didn't want to go out like another team went out this week,
right?
In a disappointing, chance to play spoiler. And it just didn't happen for Atlanta. And Louisiana's got their number too. Louisiana beat them earlier this season in the Hive, which was surprising at the time then as well. So it was just one of those matchups for Atlanta this season. It just did not work out. Tank Bennett, shout out to Tank Bennett, just another top 5 season in tackles. The guy's a menace.
Yeah, he's a beast. Real quick, before I get to Jack's data, the Rapid Raccoon, which is Mike Percoco, subscribing to Tier 1 for 6 months. Attaboy, Coco. And Ramos, I hope you're joking. I hope you're not hearing Cam double. I hope that was just a joke on why Cam isn't muted while Cam is talking. If you guys are hearing him double, let me know. I don't think you should, but if you do, let me know. Jack's data, Atlanta at Louisiana, over under a 48.5, fell short at 37. Atlanta was favored by 6.5 in this game. Obviously didn't come close to covering. And I don't know what's up with SFL Nation, but 121-41 took Atlanta. So we dropped to 1-2 going into game 4. Let me see. Who's that again? Oh, Cam. St. Louis at Tulsa. This probably the most interesting matchup of the week because, number one, the winner is guaranteed a playoff spot and a division title, but the loser potentially at that point not even make the playoffs, which is exactly what happened at Tulsa. Tulsa had a great season, but they fall short in this game. Tell us about this one.
Do you want to take this? Look at me while I'm talking to you. Look at me while I'm whatever. This was a huge game.
Hey, I'm sorry, Cam. Fox High went in the chat. Cam's going to be the new spokesman for Double Mint Gum.
Oh man, I'd chew the crap out of some Double Mint Gum,
right?
Especially with the background.
Oh yeah,
and I'm all over.
Green? Yeah.
Oh yeah, all over it. Sorry, Robert. That's the new style. I don't have a beach in my backyard like Greg does.
Yeah, he's all about Miami and Indiana.
Was that a palm tree back there, Jack? What is that behind you? Or Mike? What is that?
Mike, what is that behind you?
I don't know. Some plant. I don't know.
It's probably fake. So St. Louis, I said it in the wrap-up show. I gave a game ball to Christian Brown. They really established in the first quarter that they had come to play, that they were not going to let this season slip away, that they were not going to let this big 5-0 start get them down. They came to play. Cairo Martinez, another tough game. 3.2 yards a carry is not going to get it done. They've got to figure out how to get him 4, 5, 6 yards. It doesn't have to be 10-yard chunks. But if I'm St. Louis, that's my number one focus this week, preparing for the playoffs. How can we get Martinez just going a little bit more? But it was enough in this game because their defense was so spectacular. They made Tulsa work for everything. Gabriel Manning didn't beat him deep. They weren't burned by JQ's big arm like some teams have been in the past, and they didn't allow Sanzo to start breaking through tackles and get everything going. They really kind of kept everything in front of them, waited for Tulsa to make critical mistakes, and there weren't a lot of mistakes in this game, but St. Louis was the cleaner party, and they got the win. They got revenge on Tulsa, who beat St. Louis in St. Louis's house. So that's a 2-game streak there of road teams winning in that series. And St. Louis ends up going to the playoffs. St. Louis was the big winner of the week, Dave. They went from not being a division leader and possibly out of the playoffs to now hosting a playoff game, a team that they have already hosted this season and lost to, and now they get a second chance at. So I would say that St. Louis is one of, if not the biggest winners of the week, just simply because they conquered a team that had already beaten them. They won their division, and they got a home playoff game. Not many teams were able to do all that in Week 12.
By default, then, would that make Tulsa the biggest loser this week because they went the exact opposite on that?
Yeah, I mean, because their strength of victory was so poor, they needed that more than anybody else did. And at 6-5, they were the only 6-6 team outside of a couple others that actually stood to be eliminated if they lost, right? Everybody else, if you lost, you were either already out anyway, or you still had already clinched a playoff spot. So yeah, Tulsa, this game had a dramatic impact on both teams' seasons, and credit to St. Louis. I mean, that's a gutsy win for a team that's only been to the playoffs once, trying to find that winning identity and attitude. That was a huge statement win for St. Louis, maybe their biggest win in franchise history.
And doing it with a rookie quarterback, which is amazing as well.
Yeah.
Let's see here. St. Louis at Tulsa. Jack's Data, over under 48.5, 46 points. I mean, Jack's Data is just crushing it through the first 4 games on Saturday. Tulsa favored by 3.5. They did not cover. And, man, SFL Nation, we're just doing terrible. We took Tulsa 96-66 to go 1-3 out the gate through the first 4 games on Saturday, moving into Game 5.
And, hey, Dave.
Yeah, go ahead.
One last thing, because I'm not reviewing Vegas. The matchup between Vegas and St. Louis this weekend will be the first time that 2 rookie quarterbacks have played each other since season 10. Wow. Someone in the chat tell me who those 2 quarterbacks were. One of them is active now and has won a championship.
Well, there you go. SFL Nation and Access Live peeps in the chat, if you know the answer. And I see a lot of veterans in here. I see like Harish is in here. I see Mighty in here. I think DR Sim popped in. So there's a lot of people who've been around a while. Let's see if anybody knows the answer to that. In the meantime, Soto, let's move on to Houston and Mexico City. Now, Houston, this was not a must win, but a should win, or a needed to win to put them in a better chance. They obviously still have one more chance tomorrow night. But traveling into Mexico City is always tough. They kept it close. It looks like a incredibly offensive game with over 900 yards of total offense. Break this game down for us.
Yeah, it's always hard to play at Mexico City. It always is. I mean, we had to play them twice. It wasn't that great for us when we had to travel over there too. But Houston, definitely for at least 3 quarters, were beating them soundly. Even though there was good stats. I mean, it was 28-7 at the end of the third quarter, and and then Matt Wilson happened. He happened. Phoenix Jones happened. It was just a crazy game going into overtime. 28 points by the Aztecs in the fourth quarter. It was just insanity. Every time, I mean, I didn't get to watch the game, but every time I would look at some updates, somebody was like, "Oh, Aztecs scored again. Aztecs scored again," and it's just like it just was crazy. Talking about Houston, E.T. King didn't have a horrible game. He had 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions for 350 yards. It wasn't horrible. You would have wanted probably who was it? You would have wanted Warren Murray to run probably a little bit more than just 51 yards. Their third down was fine, 64% on third downs. But again, it was just Mexico just was too much in the fourth quarter. Matt Wilson, 410 yards, 3 for 3, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He threw the ball 62 times, completed 80% of that. And Phoenix Jones had a hell of a game. He rushed for 80 yards on 20 carries. And on top of that, he also had 3 receptions for 30 yards as well. Jason Bartley, Fox High Wind, they had phenomenal games to kind of match up to whatever Houston was going to do between, Kyle Finnemore and DR Sim. They had fantastic games too, and it just came down to it was a crazy fourth quarter and then overtime. And then you had also, who was it? Who had a TD for a pick six? It was Jeffrey Daggs.
Okay.
Jeffrey Daggs had a pick six for 25 yards. And that was basically it. Houston looked like they were going to beat Mexico City, and not for it all, but I mean, I know Houston had to possibly win to get into the playoffs. It was something that they wanted to do, but it did look like this was going to be an upset, and they were going to walk away handily in Mexico City. But Aztecs said no to that.
Yeah, I was watching the St. Louis game. I think at that time, I think they were simultaneous, if I'm not mistaken, and it looked like that game was already put away. And then the next thing you know, Mexico City scores a touchdown. I believe they got an onside kick, scored another touchdown, put it in overtime. I mean, what a crazy! This is one of probably 3 or 4 just insane games to end the regular season, Week 12. This week, Greg. Jack's data, over under 51.5. Houston and Mexico City blew that out of the water with 76 points. Mexico City was favored by 7, so that was really close. And SFL Nation, we get back in the winning column. We took Mexico City 126-32. Moving on to the 6th game of Saturday. Vice Wars, Vegas at Denver. Mike, I thought Vegas had this game. I thought I had it. And who is Cam talking to? What's he doing? Cam, what are you doing? Are you trying to play a game right now? Xbox? Your Xbox? Nobody likes your Xbox? Michael, did you think Vegas had this game as well? Break this one down for us and tell us how Denver came back and stole this from Vegas.
So let me just say I'm glad to see that Jeremy Vega made it just in time for this. Glad to see you here, buddy. But
Shocker.
Holy cow. Thank you, Dave, for giving me this lineup of games this week, because I got to see 2. Not 1, but 2 possible Game of the Week candidates. Started out, that great Vice Wars vibe. This was a great game. And yeah, the way it started out, I was like, holy cow. Vegas is bringing it. They figured out the secret to beating Jeremy, or maybe he was just going to take it easy on him in his last week. They came out hard. They came out strong. They basically shut down Denver that whole first half. And they were killing it. Oh, and let me give a shout out to my buddy Bo Martin Jr. too. Dustin McCrack for you, buddy.
Yes.
Possibly the last time this season that I'll get to say that name for you.
Unfortunately, yes.
But yeah, it was amazing. The first half was all Vegas all day long. Come out of the locker room in the second half, and it was all about Jeremy. It was all about the greatest game manager in the league right now, Josh Miller. He and the Nightwings turned it around that whole second half. The defense stepped up, shut down Las Vegas that second half, and it was all Denver the second half. And it was an amazing game all the way down to the end, where Denver just decided, you know what, we're winning this game. We're going to be the only 3-time 11-win team in this league, and they got that come from behind victory. It was an amazing game, and it was well worth the price of admission to see it.
There was some debate on this show last week between Andy Hamilton and Jeremy Vega on who the MVP is between their 2 running backs. McChesney, we haven't gotten to the Vancouver game yet, but as of right now, McChesney, 23 carries, 119 yards, and a touchdown, Mike. Did he solidify the MVP race with this victory and this performance, or do you think Robert Redford and Peppers are both still in the conversation?
Redford may still be in the conversation, but McChesney did what was asked of him. He took the ball 23 times, put up 119 yards, averaged 5.2 yards per carry, and put it in the end zone 1 time. And that may be the 1 touchdown that made the difference to help them win this game. He did what was needed. He caught the ball 8 times. He was a beast on the field. There's no, how do you stop a guy like that? There's no way to figure it out. He is definitely the guy, if not the number 2 guy in that MVP race.
Yeah. Well, and then on the other side of the ball, Scott Johnson went off. 20 carries, 146 yards, and 3 touchdowns. You see that stat line, bro. I'm thinking, oh, Vegas has this in the bag. However, rookie quarterback Colin Pierce, no touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Was that the difference in the game?
Yeah, that did hurt him in that second half. Him not being able to get in the end zone, giving it away those 3 times, it did hurt. Scott Johnson was a beast, and like Doug Britton likes to point out, this is a real 180 from last year for Scott Johnson. He was a real beast this year, where he was almost non-existent last year. Carried it 20 times for 146 yards with a 7.3 yard per carry, 3 touchdowns. It was great. If he could have just gotten into the end zone one more time.
Right. Well, Jack's Data had this over under 59.5 with 58 points in the game. Jack's Data on top of things again. Denver favored by 7.5. That was pretty close, kind of halfway there. And Mike, guess what? We have a 2-game winning streak right now. SFL Nation took Denver 115-46 going into the last game on Saturday, Game 7. Arizona at Sioux Falls. Arizona practically, Cam, in a must-win situation. Might have actually been a must-win situation to keep them in the playoffs. And boy, did they show up and take it to Sioux Falls.
Oh, I almost missed the mute button. Boy, that was dangerous. That was risky.
I was going to have to pull out the "You're muted, bro."
Yep, risky business. And then you'd have to find the graphic, and then the show would be delayed for 3 minutes.
Then I have to
and then
pause everything and look for it. I know you don't want to do that to the show.
It would have been a mess. Although I don't think this game needs 3 minutes, anyways. First off, shout outs to Arizona for clinching a playoff spot. Big accomplishment for Eddie. Come on, that was the other guy. Accomplishment for Eddie. He calls me every week, either going, Cam, I'm super excited, man. We are going to the playoffs if we just win all our games left. We got it. We got it, man. Or, Cam, what am I supposed to do? I don't even know what I'm supposed to do. So, all that emotional roller coaster aside, Arizona gets it done. They make the playoffs. Sioux Falls, I can confirm the coaching staff didn't give up. The coaching staff was trying to get victories every single week, making adjustments. But at the same time, later in the season, trying out new stuff, right? You're eliminated from the playoffs. You got to figure it out for next season. What are you going to do? And it just felt like the team just didn't show up, the last couple of weeks. They gave up 98 points, Dave, in the last 2 weeks of the regular season. 98. I've never gotten a test in school that was a 98. I mean, it was really bad. And it's disappointing talking to Mike St. Green behind the scenes. It's kind of sad. You feel for them. They got so close back-to-back years, and then the bottom fell out on them this year. How they're going to recover is going to be interesting. But, Arizona got it done. Arizona, had some tough opponents earlier this season. This was probably the easiest Week 12 matchup of any team this week. It was just a beatdown. Everybody played well. Ashley Jackson, Moses, Punk had a great game. Caught a couple deep seam passes. Defense was great. Bernard Smith has been excellent. He's probably an all-star. Everett Garrison continues to hold it down, all that stuff. Constantine Knight up front. So, I mean, Arizona looked good. Sioux Falls didn't look good. It was one of those games where we are who they thought we were.
Right.
And Arizona didn't disappoint. Sometimes this season, Arizona has been a team where you expect them to win, they don't win. And then when you expect them to not win, they win. Well, this week, they finally took care of business in a game they were supposed to win.
Yeah, Ashley Jackson played out of her mind, 380 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, which we said on Thursday, she's thrown a lot of interceptions this season that she was going to have to be on point along with DJ Moses to make sure that they could solidify this victory and get in the playoffs, and that's exactly what they did. Cam, real quick, let me ask you just like maybe 30 seconds. Sioux Falls, they only lose one player. The only other difference is the same difference everybody else has on the Legends setting. How have they gone from back-to-back championship games to the season they've had this season?
I think this season teams that worked the hardest to adjust, turn things around quicker and more efficiently. Now, that's not a blanket statement, Dave, right? There are some teams that tried extremely hard that didn't, that may not have had the season they had. But in general, right, some teams may have chalked up the first 4 months or the first 4 weeks to, we'll get it together, right?
Right.
And then other teams may have overcorrected a lot faster and acted a lot more desperate with the changes. So I think Sioux Falls is one of those teams that they're kind of caught in a Denver situation, right? If you're Denver and you're the number 1 seed, why are you going to change anything? You're winning all these games, right? Sioux Falls the same way. We went to back-to-back championships. Why the heck are we going to change?
Right.
Why would we do that? And when they finally realized, I think we're going to have to make some adjustments, it was already too late.
Okay. Well, Jack's Data had this game over under at 41.5 with 68 points. I mean, Arizona alone covered that. Arizona was favored by 6. They definitely covered that as well. And look at us, SFL Nation, 3-game winning streak after not starting too well in the first half of Saturday. 113-47. We took Arizona to go 4-3 on Saturday. Gunny, are you around by any chance? I always ask that because I just never know if he's back in
Gunny
the chat.
is here.
Good. Oh, it's always good that you're here when I need to go to you. Gunny, how you doing tonight, by the way?
Very good.
All right, awesome. I think Ray Ray's in the chat, so I'm sure she'll have your lyrics up at any moment. I'm getting your music started, so you're ready to go whenever you're ready.
Good evening, SFL Nation. Ray, if you could play that on a bagpipe, that would be quite awesome. I did hear a version of that yesterday on the internet, so maybe you can find that. Congratulations to all the SFL teams that have made it into the playoffs. There are 4 new teams that are in the playoffs, and it possibly could be 5. Those 5 that are in: Fort Worth, St. Louis, Las Vegas, Arizona. If Houston loses, it will be LA, and that would be the 5th team. Out this season is Louisiana, Sioux Falls, and Atlanta, and Houston again is on the bubble. Houston was 6-6 last year, 6-6 this year. LA is 6-6. When they were Chicago, they finished at 4-8. Arizona is 6-6 this year. I do not remember exactly what their record was last year, so my apologies to Eddie Gage and his group of Scorpions. The most improved teams from season 15 to season 16 is Tulsa +3, Florida +3, Portland +3, Fort Worth +3. Congratulations to all these teams, and I see them improving on those scores again in the next season, season 17. Congratulations to Denver, another 11-1 season. That is just freaking outstanding. Congratulations. If you check the playoffs from last season, the finals was between a 4th seed and a 3rd seed. Baltimore, as the 4th seed, was your season 15 champions. So I like the way it looks. I'm looking at number 8. They're on a roll lately. I'm going to go ahead and do my Diva of the Week because he made the most outstanding play I've ever seen in SFL history. I'm going to go with the Lone Star Glory, number 5, the 5th wide receiver on the depth chart. His name is John A. Chapman, age 36, Master Sergeant of the Air Force. He died serving our country posthumous, I can't remember that name. He was awarded the Medal of Honor for his actions during the War of Afghanistan's years served, 1985 through 2002. The reason why he is my nominee is Lone Star Glory made a punt. That punt was blocked by Fort Worth. This gentleman, John A. Chapman, recovered the fumble and ran for the first down. And through my sources, that's the first time in SFL history this has ever taken place. So, John A. Chapman, salutes to you, sir. You are my Diva of the Week. With Dave, that is all.
All right, Gunny, thanks so much. And that's some great data that you share with us. And great for John A. Chapman as well. Thank you, Gunny. Let's move on to Sunday's slate of 5 games that kick things off with another divisional rivalry and the I-95 rivalry as well, Cam. Florida-Jacksonville, these two teams are no strangers to each other. I don't know how much there was to win or lose as far as playoff seeding goes in this game, but Florida, I think, solidified not only the numbers-wise, but I think opinion-wise in the SFL that they are the solid number 2 team in this playoff. Oh, you're muted, bro.
Boy.
Gotcha.
Let's just put it up. Come on, hurry up.
All right, I'm working.
Hurry up. I got
Hold
things
on.
to say. Get
Hold
it.
on.
Come on.
Are you ready?
Come
Are you ready?
on.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
I got it. Oh, whoop, whoop. Oh, there it is. Oh, there it is.
But I'm still here, Dave. Yeah, I would say it didn't have much, but honestly, it did. Jacksonville goes from possibly getting a bye to going on the road to a team they already lost to.
Right, Lone Star.
I don't think Jacksonville wanted that draw. I think Jacksonville would have much appreciated cleaning things up at home. And Mike St. Green's here too. Mike All's here too, but Mike St. Green's here too. So this is very difficult for me. I feel like I'm going to get sniped at any minute here. But that I think they definitely would have benefited big time from the win. Florida, on the other hand, if they would have lost, it wouldn't have mattered. They still would have been the 2 seed. So they end up looking even better than expected coming out of the week. Really, it wasn't really about Florida's offense. They moved the ball. They were consistent. They were efficient, but they didn't have their best day. Ethan Snead had to bail them out with 6 field goals.
Yeah.
And a lot of those field goals came off of poor field position because Jacksonville was turning the ball over. Max Paul in the chat says, hey, Jacksonville had 5 turnovers. Well, there was a penalty after 1, and All-Pro doesn't put the turnover in the box score, so it's not Dave's fault. I love giving Dave crap about the graphic errors, but not this time, buddy.
Hey, it wouldn't have been my fault anyway. I blame it on Frank, the franchise Wade. I just throw him under the bus.
Oh, well, it's not even his fault either. So you just, boy, we really blew that opportunity to be nice. Here's something not nice. Run the ball to Jared Willis. What are we doing? Every time he gets the ball, he's like trucking over 3 guys. And he, at the end of the game, you're looking at the box score and he has 11 carries.
Yeah. Now,
to be fair, he only had 24 yards on those 11 carries, but I mean, come on, 11 carries in a 12-point game. I was really surprised that they did not try to get Jared Willis going. Those 11 carries were extremely sporadic, especially when Christensen's passing offense wasn't working, right? The pass, everything was covered. Florida was all over the field. I'm just surprised they didn't run the ball a little bit more. And it felt like Jacksonville, from the first possession, were behind in this game. And they never could find the right formula against Florida, which is probably a credit to the Storm anyway.
Yeah, I mean, Christian, seems a lot of games we've talked about this season, Cam, a lot of yards, but also a lot of interceptions in the playoffs, especially against a good run defense like Lone Star in the first round. If they don't get Willis going, it could be lights out early for them. And I'm not saying that because I'm Lone Star. I'm just saying that as if Christensen is throwing interceptions and Willis is not going, how are they going to win?
I mean, they're going to need a run game against Lone Star because we know Lone Star is going to bring one, and they're going to bring that balanced attack. I'm not so sure that Christensen can do it all on his own, especially after Florida just gave the blueprint. And Mike St. Green in the chat saying, don't tell everybody about my crazy behind-the-scenes behavior. How about this, Dave? This guy cooks in his house. You know, he's got a food truck. It's his living. It's his, so he's the cook in the house. Well, he's busy on the air with me. So he's given his wife step-by-step instructions on how to cook this breakfast. And it's really uncomfortable for me because I'm hearing all this, and he's very irritable. You know, like how do you not know how to do all this stuff? And then she brings him the breakfast, and he goes, "No eggs?" And I'm thinking, golly, this guy, I don't know if I want to work with this guy. He is it was extremely uncomfortable. And this is what I have to go through on a regular basis that you guys don't have to go through. So, you know, I shout out to Dawn. You know, I think your eggs were great, whether they were on the plate or not, and he didn't deserve them anyway. So, you know, good for you for sticking up to Mike and not giving him everything he wants all the time.
Well, Cam, I think I can speak for all of SFL Nation when we say we are so sorry that you were put in that situation.
Dude, it's an impossible situation. It really was. It was. I was troubled.
I can tell, and it's still haunting you even tonight. I can tell. Jack's Data had this over under 54.5. Only 38 points scored in this game. This game was a pick'em. And speaking of picking them, we took SFL Nation Florida 104-59 to extend our win streak to 3 games and starting Sunday off in the winner's circle. Moving on to game 2, Greg. Here's the game, right? Carolina needs to win to have a chance of getting in the playoffs. And this was a makeup game from Sunday. You know, that I guess I'm not sure what happened. Like I said, Sunday night I was out picking up friends at the airport, so I don't know what happened Sunday night, but I can see what happened Monday night, and it was not good for Carolina.
Yeah, no, it wasn't, and I'll go back to Carolina's Twitter account. Due to technical difficulties early in the third quarter, the game was called final, with the Sky Gang winning to the season. On a positive note, finishing 6-6, the team fought hard. They were winning 20-6 on that first time. This second game was just a long, drawn-out, complete reversal of what was going on in that first game. It was just, you know, it was a long, drawn-out game. 19-10, Charleston pulling out the win. I think there was a possibility, like you said, of maybe Carolina going to the playoffs. Maybe there was. You know, TD Drew for Charleston threw for 183 yards. He only went 1 for 1. Really had a good completion percentage, 88%, 22 of 25. You know, Buchanan Simmons, is it Buchanan Simmons? Yeah. He had 77 yards. Yeah. Simons had 1 touchdown, and then also Swearingen, you know, he carried the ball for 28 times, 59 yards. No touchdowns there. Defense did okay. You know, Jack Brown had his 9 tackles. Jack Hoffman had 6.
Greg, let me interject for 1 second. People are losing it in the chat. It's hilarious. Yes, Charleston with 599 rushing yards, a new SFL record. No, it's 59. You know, hey, Frank just hit the 9 twice.
It's a good thing I don't look. It's a good thing I don't look at that. I look at my own sheet.
There you go. There you go. It was Mighty and Fox and all you guys. You guys can relax. It's only 59 rushing yards. 59 for Charleston, 69 for Carolina. Greg, go ahead.
Yeah. So, you know, Charleston did okay, you know, and the problem was Xander Gold had a complete opposite game that I believe he was having in that first game. You know, he only had 155 yards through 4 interceptions, only got sacked once, but really could not find their receivers. Nobody on Carolina went over 60 yards receiving at all. You know, and Logan Jack only had 69 yards on 15 carries, no touchdowns there. It was just a horrible game for Carolina, especially being at home. You know, their defense came out, though. Amon Takis had 9 tackles, 2 assists. Shervan Prasad had 12 tackles, linebacker. You know, he was all over the field. He had 1 sack, 4 assists. 2 tackles for a loss, and it just came down to it was weird because I know there was the same, supposedly it was the same game plans as the prior game that stopped in the third quarter. But Xander Gold just throwing 4 interceptions just really hurt the team. And TD Drew just not making that much of a, didn't mess anything up. He just consistently, went 22 for 25. Controlled the game as much as possible, and they came out with the win 19-10. It was quite the reversal from that first game that got stopped in the third quarter.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It sounds like some Carolina people aren't very happy about it either. Yes, you guys in the chat, leave Frank alone. Leave poor Frank alone. Things happen. You hit a button or hit a key the wrong way first. You transpose some numbers or names, or I'm sorry, letters. I didn't phonetically sound like. You guys got to give Frank a break. Where's that leave?
Now you know how I feel, Frank.
Yeah, I need that leave Brittany alone, meme to come up. Jack's Data have this over under a 44.5. Only 29 points scored in this game. Carolina was actually favored by 3.5, so they obviously did not cover. But look at SFL Nation covering a 4-game win streak and going 2-0 to start off on Sunday. 99. Oh, no, I'm sorry. They lost. Oh, no, they took Carolina 99-58. So much for that win streak, SFL Nation. Let's move on to Game 3. My personal favorite game, Mike All, of the weekend, but also one of 2 or 3 potential game of the week games with just a back and forth, comeback by Fort Worth, comeback by Lone Star, an amazing game to watch. How did you like this one?
Was a great game to watch. I mean, I honestly thought Fort Worth was going to dominate. Fort Worth has just been an amazing story this season. However, you guys, Lone Star, weren't going to just let that happen. And it was an almost even effort by both of your teams, as you can see by the stats on the screen, which are, as far as I can tell, correct on this one.
This one is accurate. Yes.
Thank you, Frank.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you, Frank.
And Gunny kind of stole some of my thunder earlier, but yeah, there was the blocked punt, which I was like, oh man, LSG is going to be hurting here. But then your number 5 receiver picks it up and runs it for a first down.
What a play! What a play!
Where did that come from? That was awesome. And then it was just a slugfest back and forth for you guys. Fort Worth brought it harder in the first quarter. You guys threw it at them in the second and third quarter, and then we get to the fourth quarter, and oh my goodness, what a quarter to watch! It was well fought, and then we get to a minute and a half, and we see from the 11-yard line, Cam Curtis hit Stephen Hacker for a touchdown, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I think Fort Worth just did it. They just took it. And then you guys get the ball back and get into that hurry up, and you get the ball down the field, and then all of a sudden Hugh Purvis comes out with 14 seconds left and kicks the field goal that wins the game. It was just, Vice Wars was awesome. It was awesome, but this one just as awesome to watch the back and forth. It was an awesome game by both teams offensively and defensively. We even got to see Doug Day get his pick 6 to end the season, the regular season, I should say. And it was well fought by both teams.
I think this was something that we needed. Lone Star needed this kind of win against this kind of team going into the playoffs with our up and down roller coaster season so far. And I agree with you. Hacker had 2 long touchdowns. He just crushed it against us. And I agree with you, Mike. When he scored that second one, I was completely stressed out, as you can imagine. I think the key thing in this game for us personally, Ace, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, bro. So when Ace plays like that, it's hard to beat us, right?
Yeah, Ace had one of the best games of his career, and Cameron Curtis was very close to the same kind of game, but Cameron Curtis had the 2 interceptions, one being that pick 6.
Right.
It was a great game by Ace, and Ike had a slower game than she's had the last couple of weeks, but Ace more than made up for it with that amazing performance. 33 of 41, 352 yards, 3 touchdowns,
Yep.
no picks, no sacks.
Yep, amazing. And the most important thing, the I-35 shootout trophy stays in Denton where it belongs. Just saying. Fort Worth at Lone Star, Jack's data over under 48.5. Yeah, we each almost did that on our own. We just 86 points on the board for us. Fort Worth was actually favored by 6.5, so they did not cover. And look at SFL Nation taking Fort Worth 103-55, back on a 2-game losing streak, Mike, with only 2 games left to go. Cam, the last 2 games of the regular season both belong to you. First, LA at Vancouver, another game, another division rivalry with a division title on the line. LA up early and for a while, and then Vancouver just exploded. How did that happen?
Yeah, Dave. Well, first it started with a Robert Redford injury in the first quarter. That was a shock, and the reality is that Los Angeles did not take advantage of the time that Redford was out of the game. Vancouver kind of hung around, and LA made a bunch of mistakes and kept Vancouver in it just long enough for Vancouver to come back in the third quarter. And what was really interesting about this game, Dave, was how Robert Redford looked after coming back from the injury. He looked not 100%.
Right.
And he just looked off. And I think Vancouver sensed that, and they kept it in Tom Pepper's hands. And even after Redford returned, they really didn't give him too many looks. So I think he was still hobbled, a little banged up from the game. But it just didn't matter. LA, if LA is able to back into the playoffs with a London upset tomorrow, they better figure out how to run Scott Johnson 45 times. Stop throwing it. I mean, Sully Richardson has just had a terrible last month of the season. It's been rough. I mean, it's just turnover central, and it's so crazy because Jack Flash and Chris Lee and Davius Reed and all those guys, they were LZ Pryor. They were awesome the first month of the season. It's like a completely different team out there right now offensively. Now their defense is still playing well. Vancouver would not have had 31 turnovers 31 points if Los Angeles hadn't turned the ball over 7 times. So their defense was playing well, but their offense constantly has been putting themselves in difficult positions. Now the good news for LA is Scott Johnson, is a reliable and dependable guy, but you go up against Fort Worth, who would be LA's opponent if they get into the playoffs. You think you're going to be able to run all over Fort Worth? I mean, I know they just gave up 44 points, but it wasn't like Lone Star ran all over Fort Worth. They had to get that. They had to open that game up and make that game crazy to get that kind of result. It's hard to imagine any team winning in the playoffs not being able to have a balanced attack. And there's serious concerns about LA's pass offense right now.
Yeah.
And they're lucky to be in this position with a 50-50 shot to make the playoffs.
Is 7 interceptions close to a record? Do you know what the record is for most interceptions in a game by a quarter? Oh, it's 9. So
9. And he had 6, I think they fumbled. I think they had 1 fumble in the game, unless I'm mistaken. I know that there was a game.
I don't see a fumble in this game.
Okay, so
we had a fumble in our game, but
there was a game this weekend where there were a bunch of turnovers. Yeah, no, you're right. He threw 7 picks. Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, it was just rough. I mean, you can't throw 7 picks. You just can't. You're never going to win like that. Unless you're Ashley Jackson. I think she had 6 that one week that they ended up winning, I think against Portland or whatever.
Yeah, that's an anomaly though, for sure.
But yeah, I mean, LA's got to be disappointed because they had an opportunity because Vancouver had lost Redford. LA was winning. They had all the momentum, and they just couldn't pull away. And eventually they got run over by a steamroller. It wasn't very fast, but it sure did crush them.
Right. Well, LA will be probably the biggest London fans on the planet tomorrow night. Jack's data 54.5. Excuse me, on the over/under. That's almost within the 10 points that we talk about with 44 scored in this game. Vancouver was favored by 6. They crushed that. And SFL Nation, we're back in the win column, 110-46. We took Vancouver over LA going into the very last weekend regular season game of season 16 before we get to Wednesday's makeup game. Cam, I'm going to go ahead and go to Cam on this one. Baltimore at DC.
Awesome.
This has to be definitely in the run for game of the weekend, maybe even game of the year, especially that last few minutes of the game. This game was just off the chain every which way you look at it.
It's just the way that Baltimore won was so crazy because DC has owned the fourth quarter all year long. They in the last 2 weeks alone, they have won in a fourth quarter comeback against Houston, and they've won in a fourth quarter comeback against Queen City. And for Baltimore to win the game in the fourth quarter at DC, to send DC to 0-6 at home, by the way, they finished 3-3 on the road this year, was stunning. Just stunning. And you look at the stats in terms of the totals. I mean, third downs were dead even. Turnovers are dead even. TOP was almost dead even. This was a back-and-forth game. DC did what they have been doing all season long. They keep it close. They keep it low scoring. And they find a way to stay alive in the fourth quarter. And then, and then it's like a 50-50 shot. Sometimes they win, sometimes they lose. But this game, just incredible resilience by Baltimore. Can you imagine if the defending champs would have lost the game, right? Let's say that they lost the game. They would be the 7 seed right now, and they would be hosting Vegas. Now, I don't know about anybody else out there, but I don't think I really want to play Vegas after they were up by 20 on Denver. On the road. They lost the game, but they obviously can compete with anybody. And Baltimore's sitting there going, sure glad we won that game because they didn't want any part of Vegas. They'll take whoever they get in the, after the wild card games are over. But tremendous accomplishment by Baltimore. But, Dave, 9 carries, 9 yards for T. Roy Gaines.
Yeah.
This really isn't about T. Roy. This is about Baltimore's offense. It goes back. It's the same old story. I don't see how a team is going to win a playoff game if they can't run or throw the ball. And Baltimore cannot run. They have lost all ability to run. It's crazy how backwards they have gone running the football. There was a stat earlier this season that we had on TV that they were top 9 in rushing for 5 consecutive seasons. And then last year, they fell under 100 yards. It got a little worse. And then this year, they're bottom 5 in the league. It's crazy the fall off from Baltimore's ground game. And these unbalanced teams, they're going to have some problems in the playoffs. I mean, DC's one thing, 3-9, full of rookies. They probably ended up either overachieving or hitting the level that people thought they were going to get. But if Baltimore's playing teams like Lone Star and St. Louis and Arizona and all those guys, you got to get more than 9 yards on the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. Excuse me, and I got to tell you, Cam, I rewatched the last couple minutes of the Baltimore DC game, and I got to tell you, if there were tenths of a second, if the game actually showed tenths of a second, it had to be 0.1 because he barely got that snap and spiked it, and it was already on 1 second. They're within, I think, a tenth of a second to lose in that game.
And the lack of timeouts actually benefited them. DC was all kinds of scramble with their substitution packages. They were exhausted, right? They from the no-huddle offense. Baltimore had not called a timeout the whole drive. That actually worked out in Baltimore's favor in this one. Just a wild finish.
Yeah, I mean, people were in the chat right off the bat calling this potential game of the year. Jack's Data had it 47.5. On the over-under, 57 scored. Baltimore's only favored by 7.5, which is probably I thought maybe it might have been a little more than that, but overwhelmingly 127-36. SFL Nation, we took Baltimore, and that made us 3-2 on the day, 7-5 for the weekend, and going into I guess, what are we calling this, Cam? Week 12 and a half. Houston at London tomorrow night. I need to pull up who I asked to do what. I've asked each of them. All right, Cam, you're going to have to probably try to roll on this one as well. Oh,
I got it.
Look at Johnny Pickler giving gifts away, giving subscriptions away to people in my chat. Attaboy, Johnny. Spending some of that Survivor money already, I see. Let me see where I can find it. Greg, I started with you. Whose offense did I ask you to talk about?
Houston.
Okay. So let's talk about Houston's offense first. I'm going to change the timer. We're just going to do 1 minute on each of their offenses and 1 minute on each of their defenses. So Houston offense, Greg, go ahead, buddy.
Houston offense, one thing comes to mind. In London, E.T. Keene cannot throw as many interceptions as he does. He has 34 interceptions so far this year and only 16 touchdowns. His completion percentage is 73, but he cannot afford to throw interceptions in London, in Queensway. They need to connect. DR Sim needs to connect with him, and so does Leroy Brown. They need to make something happen. Is it Kai Cash? Is that how you say it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Kai Cash hopefully can do some good returns like he has been. And, then maybe Houston has a chance to beat London in London. You look at those points per game, it's almost even. 20 point something to 19 point something.
Yeah.
You do have the total yards. It is pretty high, for a lot higher for Houston. But again, if London can get their defense in order and stop this Houston offense and make E.T. Keene throw interceptions, that's the only way they're going to be able to win. And Houston needs to have a game plan where E.T. feels comfortable, where he's not going to be throwing interceptions to that London, especially Tanner Hendricks. Tanner Hendricks will pick you off and take it back.
Well, speaking of London's defense, Michael, how do they stop this potentially explosive Houston offense that Greg just talked about?
Well, they're going to have to figure out a way to shut down Warren Murray, and they're very good against the pass. This is a team that is very good against the pass. Against the run, not as good. They're fourth against the pass in the league, giving up 247.6 yards per game. Against the run, they're 20th, allowing 99.7 yards per running back. However, with the way the running game has been this year, where it's up and down, I think this gives them a good advantage, being able to shut down E.T. King and that offensive passing attack. Being able to cover DR Sim is another story, though.
Right.
But the pass is where they make their bones. It's the run that they need to worry about, and Warren Murray, and he can get it done when he's running the ball.
Right. Mighty just throwing in the chat, neither team's offense is consistent, which is true, Cam. So talking about London's offense, they've had some really high moments, but they've had some really low moments as well. How does this London offense put points on the board against that Houston defense?
That Houston defense is so good, Dave, in the secondary that it almost makes you say, well, you're going to need a running game. I don't know that London necessarily needs to figure out how to get Robert Merrill going, because they haven't figured it out through 11 games in the season.
Exactly.
I don't think that's their advantage. I think that if I was London, I'm letting Angus sling it all over the field 8 yards or less. I'm staying ahead of the chains. I'm flipping it out to Merrill. I'm getting Matson involved. I'm running out routes. I'm running little drags. Little stop routes, stuff that just keeps the game moving, keeps the game flowing, because I think that's their best chance. They have a lot of great weapons offensively, and they have been inconsistent, yes, but Angus has shown against Arizona, are you kidding me? He was unbelievable. That offense was unbelievable, and that day they threw a bunch of passes. I don't think that you can really test Houston deep very much. They're very good back there. But some of the underneath stuff, make Houston press you. Make them play man. If not, if they're just going to drop back in zone, then pick them apart with McLean. I think that's their best shot.
So going to the Houston defense now. Obviously, we talk about the long arm of the law. We talk about Marco Swift, Kai Cash, Ethan Kai. I mean, one of the best secondaries, if not the best secondary in the entire SFL. But what else can that defense do to stop London? Like you said, Robert Merrill hasn't done a lot rushing, but he has a lot of receptions this season. And what can Houston do to stop that swing pass? Because that seems to be London's most deadly weapon.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Houston, that, I mean, yes, you can cover the flats to stop the swing, but more importantly, I think you have to get pressure on the quarterback. Houston did not have any sacks against DC. They had 2 against Mexico City, but Mexico City threw the ball 62 times, so they're not getting pressure on the quarterbacks. I think if they're not worried about the run game, because Robert Merrill has not really been able to burn teams this week. So Houston's probably thinking, oh well, we got to worry about that pass game. Well, their secondary is so good that you got that on lock, right? You've got to be able to get London behind the sticks, so they have to throw deep. I think that's Houston's key to victory defensively, is to get that pressure on the quarterback, because I don't think London is in the best position to win this game in 3rd and 10 plus.
Right.
I think they need to stay ahead of the sticks, and I think that's how Houston, if they win the game, I think they put pressure on McClain and make him very uncomfortable.
Well, I'm going to give you guys the Jack's data info for this game, and then I'm going to go to each of you for your pick'em for tomorrow night. And if Gunny's still around, we'll ask Gunny as well. For tomorrow night, Houston at London. Jack's data has called this a pick'em with an over-under of only 47.5. However, last time I checked, who you got, London has 110 to only 39 for Houston. So a lot of faith in London at home in the last game of the regular season to keep Houston out of the playoffs. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. Greg Soto, Houston at London. Who you got tomorrow night?
London.
You got London. Tell me why.
Yep. Well, I just think that I've done a couple of the games stats wise, and I think there's certain things that have happened in the past where I know Chad has been trying to fix, and I think tomorrow, you got at 6 o'clock, all eyes of the SFL are on you, and it's at home. I believe Chad writes that defense correct. And I say it's a close one, but I think London pulls it off.
Okay. Mike All, tomorrow night, Houston at London, playoffs on the line. Who you got?
Well, so when we did our preseason evaluations of the team, I said London would win 6 games this year. Well, clearly I was wrong, much like Tyler is almost every week. However, I do see them coming close. I see them pulling out a tight one in this one and coming away with that victory, making them 5-7.
Okay, so 2 for London. Cam number 1, who you got? Well, I'm going to ask both of you, so you can split your vote.
Good, because we're gonna have split personality then. All right, Cam number 1 thinks that Angus completes 75% of his passes and London wins the game.
Okay, and Cam number 2. What do you think about what Cam number 1 just said?
I think he's a flipping idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about. I think Houston's going to get 4 picks in this game. London can't keep it clean, and Houston's going to make the playoffs.
Awesome, Gunny, are you still around? Can we get your pick'em for this Houston at London matchup tomorrow night?
Yes, you can take my pick. I'm going to go with Houston only because I want to see all 4 of the South Division in the playoffs.
That would be amazing. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the West already got 3 in. Is that right? Or is right? It's let me see. Hold on. Is that right, Cam, or not?
Yes.
No. Nobody has 3 in except the South.
No.
Denver, Vegas.
Oh, yeah, the West does. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the West has 3. The South has 3. So good pick, Gunny. That could put us. South Division with the only division that has 4. Moving on to Diva of the Week for Week 12. Um, I have Robert Garrett Jr.'s pick right here, so I'm going to start with that, and then Greg will go to you. Robert Garrett Jr., by the way, for those of you who weren't tuned in at the very beginning of the show, Robert Garrett Jr. had a last-second emergency right before we went live, so Cam was kind enough to do double duty. That's why you see the whole double mint thing going on here. Why he's in the unedited spot where Robert Garrett Jr. was, and then Cam was already in the unforgettable circle as he was the very first ever guest mystery panelist on the Access Live show. So, Greg, before I get to you, Robert Garrett Jr. was going to name Logan Jack as his his reasoning is awesome, as his Diva of the Week nominee for season 16, week 12, due to the fact that his vicious stiff arm is what made the game lock up, and so they had to replay the game. So I guess he's talking about in the first game, his vicious stiff arm made the game go offline, so they had to play the remake on Monday. I like Cam number 1 hair. Oh, it's way better than Cam number 2 hair. Yeah, I agree with you, Greg. All right, so we got Robert Garrett Jr.'s pick. Gunny gave us his pick earlier when he gave us his Pearls of Wisdom, which was John A. Chapman, the 5th wide receiver for Lone Star, who was the first ever in the history of the league, from what we understand, to take a block punt and run for a first down. Greg, moving on to you. Diva of the Week, season 16, week 12. Who's your nominee?
I'm nominating this man because not only did he have a hell of a game, I believe, for his team the second time around this week, but what he also did and said in Gen Chat, my nominee for Diva of the Week is Shravan Prasad, linebacker for Carolina. He had 12 tackles, 4 assists, 1 sack, 2 tackles for a loss. And the Diva moment was after moments after the game in Gen Chat just went off on the game, on I believe maybe even Cam's Xbox, Cam's thumb, Cam's hair.
His hair?
His hair.
I missed that.
No. Just everything. The controller, All Pro Football 2K8, and and some of the things that he said were, I kind of felt, I kind of feel like that sometimes too. Some of us have been there, not exactly how they lost, especially they were winning that first game, but that man is my Diva of the Week. Not only did he have a hell of a game, but then he also gave us a piece of his mind to everybody in Gen Chat as well.
Interesting now that Carolina, who lost last night, not in the playoffs, now has 2 Diva of the Week nominees. Mike All, who's your season 16, week 12 Diva of the Week nominee?
Dave, let me just backtrack a second here. I forgot in my intro today, you were looking live at the front room of my new house, which I like to call the yellow room, as you can tell by the wall behind me. However, my Diva of the Week.
Actually,
for those of you who do not know, every time Mike is on the show, he broadcasts from a different room in his new house. This is, I believe, the 3rd or 4th different room, Mike.
Like the 5th room.
Is it really?
I can't wait for the bathroom next week.
that'll be a surprise week.
Uh-oh.
But I had to seriously consider, with the surprise that we had at the start of the show, of changing my Diva of the Week to Cam for holding up 2 circles on the show. But I'm going to stick with my original thought, which is Ron Cochran. Why Ron Cochran? Why the guy that beat my team so badly this last week? Well, here's why. Several times, not just once, but several times, when he got his team into the hurry-up offense, he slowly strutted like the cock of the walk to the line. He didn't rush. He didn't worry about anything. Like a diva, he just slowly walked up to the line while everybody waited for him, grabbed the ball, and put it up against us. And it was the most diva thing I have ever seen in this game. Ron Cochran, Diva of the Week, guaranteed.
There you go. Awesome. All right, Cam, we're on to you now. Who is your Season 16 Week 12 Diva of the Week nominee?
All right, my Diva of the Week nominee is none other than Daley Holder of the Baltimore Vultures. This man, earlier in the game, was wide open. He would beat everybody by like 20 yards. He was gone and doinks it right off his hands. I mean, just flubbed it. I mean, looking like Axis without his sleeves.
Hey, yo.
Just out there, just looking confused, dazed and confused. He comes back. He says, he walks to the huddle. I think we had him mic'd up. Walks to the huddle and he says, "Hey, that was the win, man. If you just go back to me in a key moment later in the game, I promise you, I will catch the next one." And look at that. 1 second or a tenth of a second left. Jack Wigmore throws it to Daley Holder in the end zone. He makes the catch for the walk-off, and Baltimore gets the victory. If he would have caught the first one, they would have won the game. They wouldn't have needed the spike with 1 second left in the no-huddle offense and the game-winning touchdown. But he's such a diva. Catching that ball in the third quarter, the second quarter, whatever, that wouldn't have made the headlines. But getting the game winner at the buzzer to end a wild weekend of SFL action and just rip the heart out of the Dragons fans by not giving them a home win in their inaugural or return to the SFL season. Oh, so diva. Daley Holder, my Diva of the Week.
Daley Holder, that's pretty strong too. All of these are really strong. Well, I will give you the sixth and final Season 16 Week 12 Diva of the Week nominee, and it goes none other than to a man who is playing on a team that has reached the playoffs in the final week of the season, and they made it to the playoffs due to his amazing record-setting game with 6 catches for 102 yards to become the record breaker for the most receiving yards in a St. Louis Gladiator season with 1,121, and that is none other than my left-hand man, Eagle Mondavi. Eagle, congrats on breaking the record. Congrats on being Diva of the Week nominee, and hopefully I'll be congratulating you on Thursday. So there are your 6 Week 12 Diva of the Week nominees. I'm sure Eagle will have the voting up in the Access Live server shortly. Oh, look at, he's already on it right there. Boom. Just as I say it, it's in the chat. So there you go. Go vote for your Diva. This is the last regular season Diva of the Week nominee. Of course, we do it during the playoffs. We do the wild card, the quarterfinal, the semifinal, and the championship game. And then after that, we do Diva of the Year. The current Diva of the Year, if you guys remember from last season, is Mr. Johnny Pickler, who will actually be joining us here in a few moments if he shows up on time, Johnny. But before I get to him and all of that, I just want to tell you real quick, there will be no Next on Netma tonight. In addition to Robert Garrett Jr. having a personal emergency, Tyler had a work emergency at the last minute, was not able to come on to do his Next on Netma. So the next thing I want to do real quick before we get to After Dark, I want to give you a quick update on the Season 16 Survivor Pool champions. The pool was over $3,000. Myself, Ray, and Johnny. And here's the thing, Cam. Johnny came within 1/10 of a second of losing out because he had Baltimore. If DC had pulled that upset, me and Ray would have been splitting 31-50 just between the two of us. So Johnny got lucky, but I guess 1,000's better than nothing. And then speaking of that, let's go into After Dark because I do want to talk to you guys about something else that Johnny's putting together for the playoffs. A lot of people were DMing him and DMing the server where we do the Survivor Pool and asked him to come up with something for the playoffs. So I've asked him to come on to explain real quick. He's going to put together a fantasy football for the playoffs in the SFL. Johnny, and of course he comes in right on time. Johnny, what's up? Welcome back to the show, bro. How you been?
Hey, not bad, Dave. especially after we all split that loot.
Yeah, glad to see that you spent some of it in my show. I appreciate that.
Yeah, got to give back. Dude, can you imagine how I felt? With the in that
Dude,
Baltimore.
Imagine how I felt when they scored the touchdown and I lost $500.
Yeah, you greedy bastard. Yeah.
All right, so playoffs, fantasy football. Oh, you know what, Johnny? I actually forgot the other graphic that you gave me, but I'll work on that while you talk about this, and I'll try to throw it in here real quick while you're talking about this one. So Johnny's gonna give you the rundown on this, and then I'm gonna put up the example graphic for the teams while he's talking about that. So Johnny, go ahead and take it away, bro.
Yeah, so a lot of people for a while have asked about, after last season's Survivor Pool and after this year, they're kind of like bummed that it came to an end while the SFL action continues, and they're like, can you do something for the playoffs? Can you do a playoff Survivor or a bracket challenge or something like that? And then I've also always heard, the whispers of how cool it would be if we could do, if we could incorporate fantasy football into the SFL. And I admit, I'm like, that would be pretty cool. Being able to select your own player as a fantasy player and score fantasy points, or even to, know that your player is being selected by other people out there, and that's so, that people from other teams, are placing a stake on you and have confidence in you. It just brings a whole nother, way of looking at things. So I've always been for that idea. So one thing that we're going to do this year is playoff fantasy football. It's something that I've done for the NFL before. I've participated in huge playoff fantasy football pools for the NFL every year. I've ran them myself. And so I'm bringing that exact same concept over to the SFL because it's very doable. A lot, easier to do than to do an actual full fantasy season. So the rules are basically that we have 12 playoff teams, and you create one 12-man roster or woman roster, whatever you want to call it. You have a lineup full of 12 individuals. Those 12 individuals, the catch is that you have to pick one individual from every team. You have to have a representative of every team. So the strategy, you start to play with it, because if you take Josh Miller, you can't have Jared McChesney. If you take Ace Fennick, you can't have Dave Axis, and things like that. So you can only pick one player per team. And those are the guys you go to war with. And, every round, everybody's going to have the same amount of players, because in the first round, everybody's going to have 8 players going because you got 4 teams on bye. Then 4 of your players are going to be eliminated, just like everybody else. You're going to have another 8 players, going in the next round. Then you're going to have 4 players going in the semifinals. And then in the SFL championship game, you'll have 1 player representing each of those teams still on your roster. So it's a cumulative points scoring system. It's based off kind of standard fantasy scoring. If you want all the scoring details, and you're going to be in on it, like we have all the scoring details listed in the server. But it's basically, your 4 points for passing touchdown, 25 yards passing gets you 1 point, 10 points rushing or receiving gets you 1 point. Interceptions will get your defense points. And you want to, people have different strategies in it. I mean, a lot of people will think, well, I want, the fact is you're going to have the same amount of players every week, but some people think they want their quarterbacks, a quarterback or a running back that will likely be in the in the championship game. So, your kicker might want to be someone that you have a feeling gets eliminated in week 1, but you never know. Kickers can score some big points and can win some games, but that's basically the gist of it. And if anyone has any questions, they can always shoot them at me. But yeah, I see you just put on the screen. That's like a perfect example of what 2 teams could look like,
Okay. Real quick. So first of all, I'm gonna ask you, if you're available Thursday night, I think what I'd like to do is have you come back on Thursday night. We'll do it in the after dark again, and we'll kind of pick a team, maybe for the show. Well, I'll ask the panelists to help me pick a team. We'll do one for charity, and we'll just throw it in there just to kind of do an example so people can see what you're talking about. Would you be cool with that?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. That way people can see the mindset of, when you're going through and making your picks.
Okay. And then, so if you have any questions about this or want to join, you can DM Johnny. You can join this is going to be in the same server we do the Survivor Pool with, so it's the Survivor Pool server. Johnny, I don't know what the name of that is, or is it
SFL
it's like Survivor Pool?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. In the meantime, any panelists, you guys have any questions on this at all before I let Johnny go and we wrap this shindig up? You guys good? All right.
Good.
All right, we'll do something on Thursday night, Johnny, where we'll pick a team and kind of show everybody how to do it as we get ready for the weekend.
All right, sounds good, my man.
Thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, man. See ya. All right, everybody. So that's that. Man, what a show we had. Man, we went through a lot of material tonight. We started off with the games. We talked about. Oh, don't forget about the T-shirts. Shout out again. Thank you to Frank the Franchise Wade for doing tonight's graphics, and to Axel Raven for doing Thursday night graphics. What's Eagle saying? Having Dave Axis on your fantasy team, terrible idea when you have that Greg Soto guy. Well, you can't have both of us, bro. Soto goes on one, I go on another one, Ace goes on another one. I guess that's how it works. We had Gunny's Pearls of Wisdom. We did the Diva of the Week, Week 12 nominees. We did the Wednesday night previews and pick'ems. We had the Survivor update. And then we just had Johnny come on and talk about playoff fantasy football. So that was a lot of show in just an hour and 44 minutes. So thank everybody for staying on, hanging on, and making it through the entire show. Love you guys in the chat. You guys know you're my favorite part. All the correcting us on the graphics and asking questions and doing hype trains and giving away subscriptions and all kinds of stuff. You guys are a blast. Love you guys. Thanks for being here. Also want to thank Greg Soto, Mike All, Cameron Irvine for being on the show tonight, being on tonight's panel. Our best wishes out to Robert Garrett Jr. Not sure what happened. Don't know what the emergency is. But hoping for the best. Hope it's nothing too serious. I see all my Brady Bunch circles are looking up at me. And of course, Greg Soto. Look at, dude, you know what? You know what you get for that, right? You know, Greg Soto, what do you get for that, bro? Tell me what you get. You know what it is. You know what you get. You get that bad boy.
That's the most I've laughed at Greg Soto in my life. That's so funny.
That's it. That's what you get, bro. You are censored for the whole rest of the show. You are censored.
Why?
What?
Look at me. Look at my eyes. Take my censorship off. Look at me.
Hold on. Are you back up on
Look at me. Look at me. Look when I'm talking to you, Dave.
Hey, I always look at you when I'm talking to me. Wait, what?
All right. Shoo away. Shoo.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, get out of here. All right, everybody. We're out of here. Greg's been censored. Cam and Cam going to get their sign their double mint contract here. I guess we're going to get a new show sponsor. Cam, thank you for that. Appreciate that. So, everybody, we will be right back here in less than 48 hours after tomorrow night's game between Houston and London. What time is that game at, Cam?
6 Eastern.
6 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you watch that. Lots of playoff implications on that game. We will talk about that game on Thursday night, as well as be previewing our wild card playoff game. So stick around for that as well. So I'll see you in about 48 hours on Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on Twitch. When I do what? I see you at the tees.